Today we look at the top 3 reasons you should consider the Book It room scheduling solution for your business. And reason number 3. It fits within your budget, which is great for small deployments of just 1 to 2 rooms, or larger deployments of hundreds of rooms that are easy to manage with Book It's management portal. And those were your top 3 reasons to consider the Book It room scheduling solution for your business.
Goeienaand, dit is Dinsdag aand en die winter is besig om ons so bietjie te verlaat. Dit raak al hoe warmer. Dit was lekker warm hier in die ateljee gewees met ons tegniese issue of 2 wat ons moes uitsorteer met die internet. Maar nou is ons hier. Baie welkom by For Anglers Live en ons kuier lekker vanaand hier saam. Ons doen 'n hele program net in Afrikaans. Baie welkom Dien Baker.
Neil Baker.
Okay, we have got the boss of Escape Boating, Neil Baker, with us. And we're not really going to do it all in Afrikaans. Neil, welcome. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you, Werner. Nice to be invited.
Okay, ons gaan lekker kuier. Ons is so 'n bietjie agter skedule, maar ons gaan nie dat dit ons terughou nie. Ons gaan lekker kuier oor 'n hele paar issues. Waarna kyk ons vanaand? Neil is one of the gurus in my eyes in terms of boating. Escape boating has been, how long are you trading, Neil?
35 years.
35 years of experience here in terms of boating. So that's what we are going to chat about tonight. Neil gaan met ons gesels oor 'n paar interessante goed oor boothengel. Hoe kry jy jou boot terug? Laat jy weer kan lekker hengel nadat hy vir die hele winter iewerster onder 'n seil gestaan het. Dis nie almal wat reg deur die winter gehengel het nie. Ons gaan 'n bietjie praat oor boothengel en dan gaan ons praat oor safety on the water en wat moet ons alles doen. So dis die tipe goedjies waaroor ons gaan gesels. Wat gee ons weg? Well, we've got a load of prizes tonight again. Now, Neil is going to chat to us about this. This is the first prize that Escape Boating is bringing to us. Thank you, Neil. We're going to chat about this a little bit later, maar hier is 'n lekker mystery prize ter waarde van meer as R3000 wat jy op jou boot kan gebruik. So as jy 'n boothengelaar is, maak seker jy antwoord die regte vraag. Die volgende ding wat ons weggee is 4 kaartjies vir die Loskop 3 spesie Bonanza. Ons gaan 'n bietjie later in die program gesels met een van die organiseerders, die voorsitter van die hengelklub wat dit aanbied, en hy gee vir ons 4 kaartjies om weg te gee. So, kom ons kyk daarna, dan gee ons 'n Supercast hamper weg, hier agter my. Daar is ook 'n paar lekker blou treinpitte en 'n paar ander goedjies daar vir jou in daardie pakkie wat jy op die boot kan gebruik as jy Loskop Bonanza toe gaan. Dan ons members prize vir die aand is 'n Daiwa Powerspin stok. Onthou almal wat For Anglers members geword het of heraangesluit het in Julie op 'n jaarlikse pakket is se naam is in daardie trekking. So, dit is wat ons alles weggee. Onthou ook, volgende week gee ons het 'n maandelikse prys, 'n lekker stand, 'n oeverhengel stand, en ons gee hom ook weg volgende week. So maak seker dat jou naam in daardie hoed is. Al wat jy moet doen is om 'n For Anglers lid te wees. Kom ons gesels oor iets baie interessants. Die nuwe oeverhengelaar is op die rakke en uit die hart van die saak gaan ons met julle gesels of ons gaan die vrae vra vir 'n paar van die pryse wat ons gaan weggee uit die oeverhengelaar uit. Wat kan jy alles verwag? Hierdie oeverhengelaar is propvol inligting en 'n regtig waar 'n interessante uitgawe hierdie. So, what do we have? The first article that I want to chat to you about is about largemouth yellowfish in the Vaal River. So we went out with Elsie van der Westhuizen from Vaal Charters with a rubber duck down the Vaal and we caught a couple of beautiful Vaal River monsters. Neil, you've been boating a lot as well. Have you ever caught a largemouth yellowfish?
I have not. No. One of the fish I would like to start targeting, but I haven't fished.
So you might want to trade your crackleback for a while and go down on a rubber dinghy and catch one of these monsters.
I think we must design a crackleback that you can go yellow fishing with.
Flexible crackleback.
Yeah, we'll need you to lead us in what sort of features we need in the boat, and we need to then maybe design something for the guys.
Go down over the rocks. Okay, so dis 'n baie interessante storie, gaan lees hom gerus. Die volgende ene wat ons het, daar is 'n ou op daardie skerm. Sy bynaam, of hy word algemeen aanvaar as die ou wat maar kan gooi, Johan Bekes, aka Johnny Longcast. Hy is een van die ouens wat met 'n oeverhengelstok oor die 250 meter kan gooi. So daai rekord van hom staan nog. En ons het saam met Johnny Longcast gaan kuier langs die dam en hy het vir julle 'n pragtige 20-punt plan bymekaar gesit oor hoe om jou gooi te verbeter. Volgende. Frik en Riet is al ewig deur aan die toer. Dan is hulle hier, dan is hulle daar. Hier het hulle deur die Oos-Kaap gaan toer en so op die koop toe 'n klompie karpe sowel as forelle op die vliegstokke aangekeer. Nou hulle is nou maar, Frik het 'n kleintjie dood as ek praat van papgooi, maar ek weet julle daar het nie 'n probleem met papgooi nie. So, hy's 'n ou wat al ewig deur langs die water is en papgooi by elke verskillende dam en 'n klomp venues besoek. Nou hierdie is 'n voorsmaakie van wat jy in die Oos-Kaap kan verwag. Gaan lees gerus hierdie stuk. Die volgende interessante artikel gaan oor wat is in jou kas. John Henry Sinclair doen 'n pragtige reeks en hy gaan besoek al die top hengelaars en hy gaan kyk wat is in hulle hengelkaste. Hier het ons met het John Henry Sinclair met Lapis Labuschagne gaan kuier en hy het vir John Henry deur sy kas gevat. Nou, jy moet baie mooi gaan kyk na hierdie artikel in die tydskrif, want daar mag dalk 'n vraagie of twee uitkom. Die volgende artikel, die Nile Biodiversity Offset Area. Nou, julle het nou al 2 pragtige YouTube video's gesien in die afgelope paar weke, waar ons gaan hengele daar. Nou hier is die hele sappige storie van alles wat in daardie video aangegaan het. Hierdie middelplat, jy kan nie glo nie, maar net deur na daai foto te kyk, het ons vir julle 40 interessante aspekte wat baie belangrik is, wat ek noem het beyond the obvious. So go and have a look at what you can see and what you didn't see and what you should have seen on this picture that told you more about that session. Die volgende ene. Gilbert Foxcroft is 'n spesiehengelaar wat geen bekendstelling nodig het nie. Nou, hy het 'n sessie by Rodekoppies Dam gaan doen en hulle het pragtige karpe gaan hengel. En julle kan ook sien hierso is een van die mooiste foto's wat Gilbert self geneem het. Gaan lees gerus hierdie baie interessante artikel. Dan het ons 'n interessante reeks begin saam met FeederTech wat gaan oor feederhengel en hierdie spesifieke deel gaan oor method feeder fishing. En dis ook die tydskrif sluit amper af daarmee. En ons gaan dan nou ook oor na 'n interessante intro vir die video wat julle nie moet mis nie. Hy word môre vrygestel oor hoe ek en Gys by die Nyl op feederhengel 'n sak vol vis gevang het. Baie effektief. So, dis die tydskrif, kry hom gerus en gaan lees hom, jy gaan baie inligting kry. Maar kom ons kyk gou na hoe lyk daardie video wat môre vrygestel word.
Your personal Wat 'n lekker dag weer hier by die Nile Biodiversity Offset Area. Gys het vir ons kom kuier uit ver gery vanoggend. So, Gys, baie welkom hier by ons.
Dankie man. Is altyd beter as 'n dag by die kantoor. Al is die bakkie se klap nou hard.
Daar's hy.
Ons gaan nou op by seatbox.
Jy gaan nou op 'n lekker sagte boks sit.
Daar's hy, moenie daardie video mis nie. Hy's lekker vol guggels. Dit was een van die interessantes wat ons gedoen het. Nou ja, nou gaan ons weggee. Now this one is for the YouTube guys first. We're going to first give away a nice hamper, the Supercast hamper on YouTube. En onthou die reëls. Kom ons gaan gou weer vir die nuwe ouens wat op die program is, wat hom nog nie voorheen gekyk het nie. As jy die antwoord ken, moet jy dit in die comment section, moet jy die antwoord gaan neersit. Die eerste 10 regte antwoorde gaan in die mix in. Vir die kaartjies vir die Bonanza gaan ons 20 vat. So 20 en ons gaan 4 kaartjies weggee. So maak seker jou naam is daar in die trekking. Jonathan gaan aan die einde van die program gooi dit vir ons in 'n wiel, ons spin die wiel en ons kry 'n wenner. Onthou nou, as jy in die laaste 4 weke met hierdie kompetisie iets gewen het, moet nie weer inskryf nie. Ek wil ook net vir een van die vorige kompetisiewenners, Ronald Flockhart, he has donated the prize that he won last week back, that we can give away to a junior. That is one of his requirements. So we are going to think about something just for the juniors, and we're going to give away that nice hamper that Ronald has given back to us. Ronald, thank you. You are a star. So, in die tydskrif het ons 'n interessante artikel gehad oor wat Lappies Labeskagni in sy kas het. En hier kom die vraag. Hy het 'n hele klomp goed daar gesê, hy het gesê wat sy favorite dubs ensovoorts. En hy het 'n klompie van die go-to floaties in sy kas. En hy het hulle so opgenoem. Ek wil hê jy moet vir my 2 van daardie gee. Enige 2 van, ek dink hy gee 6. So jy moet vir my enige 2 van daardie moet jy gee. Dit is wat hy noem sy go-to's, wat hy gereeld mee hengel. OK, dit is dit dan vir die kompetisie. Gooi jou naam in daar. As jy een van die eerste 10 is, dan is jou naam in die wiel wat ons die einde van die program trek. Nou gaan ons gesels oor bote met iemand wat weet van bote. Eerstens wil ons net baie dankie sê vir Yamaha dat julle vir ons hierdie insetsel moontlik maak. Neil, Escape Boating, you just said 35 years in the business.
That's right.
That's a long time, eh?
It's a lifetime.
Yeah.
It's a lifetime.
So is it the boating industry that is responsible for the grey, or is it the kids?
I think it's the kids in the boating industry.
That's quite true.
Yeah.
You can have a couple of nice big kids in the boating industry.
Look, and if the boating industry never had kids, the boating industry would die. So
That's true.
The boating industry introduces the kids to such a fantastic way of life.
And boys will be boys. It's just the size of the toys.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Neil, throughout the 35 years, you've built many boats.
Several thousand.
Many boats. And we've had the privilege of driving a few of them for an extended period of time. What is your most successful range in all the boats that you've ever built?
At this point in time, the Cracklebacks, the best boats, are what I would say at this point in time, my successful one. But the first boat that we ever started with is Escape 17. That boat, we built thousands of that boat. In those days, the South African economy was booming. We used to build a boat a day, and we just couldn't keep up with orders. The industry at that point in time was really busy, and just about every family wanted a boat. You could buy boats for 50,000 Rand with a ski package and a 115 on the back, and everybody was buying boats. So that was the start of our industry. Yeah. And then as things started weaning down on the water ski because of the banks and the economies, we then chose to target the bass boat market, because at that point I didn't think there were any manufacturers in South Africa that really targeted the bass boat market.
Okay, so and you say that the Crackleback range is most arguably the most successful in your range.
Absolutely.
What we've had the privilege of reviewing the 530 lately. En onthou, daai artikel kom op, jy gaan hom kan sien in die digitale stywelyne. Ons het 'n mooi video. Ons het gaan kyk na die 530. But what do you have in your range, the Cracklebacks? Where does it start and where does it end?
It starts with a small little 3-meter Crackleback, which is a little cathedral hull. Then we go to the 3.6. From there we go to the 4.6, which is a Crackleback 460. Then we go to the Crackleback 500. Then we go to the Crackleback 530, which is a 5.3 meter. That's our new boat that we've just launched onto the market. Then we go to the Crackleback 570, and then the biggest one we manufacture is the Crackleback 600.
Now, that's obviously in meters. So the 600 is a 6-meter boat.
That's right, yes.
We had the privilege of having a 500 first,
Yes.
and then a 570, which was a unique boat. So where does the 530 fit in between the two, and why is there a need for a 530?
The horsepower rating on a 500 goes to 200 horsepower, and many guys want to run 225s, 250s, but which you can't run on a 500. Because of the safety reasons, buoyancy certificates, COFs, and that sort of stuff, you can't just put a big engine on a boat and sell it to somebody. So we then ran first the 570, which we brought into the market. But the 570, if you really want to get on top of it, you need to run 250s and that stuff. So we were actually lacking a boat that was well suited in the 225, 250. And that's where we brought the Crackleback 530.
So it's a shorter boat, and it's smaller, and it comes on a single axle trailer, and it's easier to maneuver. But the width is something that impressed me.
That's the same width as our 570 and our 600. That's 2.3 wide, and that makes it in the rough waters extremely stable. And as a fishing platform, you can go and stand wherever you want on that boat, and that boat doesn't rock. That boat's very, very nice.
I've seen that. Well done. I think you've done extremely well getting that out in the market.
That also helps us to carry the bigger motors because some of the 4-stroke motors are substantially heavier than the 2-stroke motors. And also with the electronics going where they are, you cannot run your top electronics now on a single battery system. The top electronics are pulling 16, 17 amps at a time, and that'll pull a normal 100 amp hour battery flat in 4 or 5 hours. So you need to start having dual battery systems with built-in chargers, so that charge while the engine's running to top up the charge. And obviously a battery, if you're not buying a lithium battery, a battery is 30 kilos.
Yeah.
So if you run a 36 volt trolley motor and 2 batteries, when you look, you've got 5-6 batteries in the back of your boat at 30 kilos, that's 180, 200 kilos in the back of your boat. So you need the beam to carry that weight. Otherwise, the back of the boat starts hanging in the water.
And that's where the extra width comes in.
The extra width gives you that extra buoyancy in the back.
Okay, Neil, so we've all had during the winter, and I'm not talking about the greybeard bass anglers and boat anglers that goes out right through the winter, but the run-of-the-mill boat angler, when we get to April after Easter and it starts getting cold, the boats gets parked and there's a cover coming over and it's sort of in mothballs for a couple of months. So now, and we've been talking about these competitions coming up, and we'll talk about it later. So now all these competitions are starting to pop out, and the guys wants to go to the Bloemhof Bonanza and the 3 Species Bonanza and the Carp and Barbel Bonanza, and they want to start going to after the bass in the spawn. What do I do on a DIY side to get my boat ready again after the winter?
The first thing I would look at is the trailer. Because you can have the boat in tip-top condition, but if your trailer can't get you to the water, that doesn't work. So The first thing I would do is look at the tires, because the tires do stand and and often in the sun. So make sure that your tires, the sidewalls are not cracking. After that, I would then go into the bearings. Make sure that your bearings are lubricated, cleaned up. Make sure there's no rust on them. And if you've got brakes in your trailer, then make sure that you could just clean up the brakes. Make sure that the cables are working properly. Simple things, a little bit of time consuming, but simple things. That the average person that can work with their hands can do those things. Very simple.
When we talk about boats and boat trailers and tires, you look at different things, because a tire on a boat, the thread doesn't wear down. So on your car, you can see, oh, okay, I've got 2 millimeters of thread, I need to replace my tires. But on a boat, because of the kilometers you do, your tires don't wear down. And they're not drive tires, so they don't wear down. So what is then important in terms of when do you change tires?
All your tires have a date on the side of a tire. And a tire is actually guaranteed for 5 years. If you speak to the manufacturers, guarantee is not the right word to use, but a lot of insurance companies, if you start having tire problems that have an accident, can turn down your claim because your tires are not. But the best thing to do is look at the sidewalls. If the sidewalls start producing little side cracks, change that tire, because a tire that has a blowout is a recipe for disaster.
So rule of thumb is, even though your tires won't be worn, 5 years, change your trailer tires.
5 years, change your trailer tires.
Okay. Good. Okay, and then when we get to the boat?
The boat, I would the first thing I would do is, I would have done it before the winter started. I would have drained as much fuel out of that boat as possible, because your fuel, when it stands, the octane deteriorates, and it also absorbs moisture into the fuel. So many times after winter, when you start up, then your boat doesn't want to run properly, and you think the boat needs a service and all that stuff, but it's just poor fuel. Very simple way to test that fuel, if you want to, is take a little bit of fuel, throw it on a concrete floor, and put a match on it. And you'll see if that fuel doesn't poof and burn properly, that fuel is deteriorated.
So your fuel does go old?
Absolutely. And you can smell the stuff. Many boats that come into my place for a service, you can walk past that boat and you can smell the fuel.
Goes fraught.
It's fraught. You can smell it. And it's strong like that. As I said, you don't need to smell in the fuel tank.
I learned something I never ever knew after boating for more than 35 years. When I took my boat in now at the end of the winter to get serviced, Dean spoke to me about it. And I almost want to say the fallacy. Now, way back then, we used to, when you are done, you used to run the carbs empty, and then store your boat like that. But that's only valid for your pre-mix engines. But with your automatic mix, or your what do you call it?
It's
like
not
my motor.
It's not actually valid. Even your auto lube motors that you're talking about, because what happens when you're running an engine dry, all the motors are lubricated through the fuel system. I'm talking about two-stroke engines. So what happens if you've got a 4-cylinder motor? All 4 of those cylinders will never run out of fuel at the same time. So what happens is you're trying to run that thing dry, and then you'll start hearing it starting to miss on 1 cylinder, 2 cylinders, or whatever. That cylinder is then running up and down without lubrication. So that we all did it. When I started boating, that's what we all told: run your boat dry. You'll never ever have a problem. But you're actually reducing the life of the engine by doing that.
What is the right way, just before you store your motor now, before winter? What's the right way to do that?
The best way would be to is you go to your carburetor. If you're running a carburetor motor and you've got a little drain in the bottom of the bowl, you just turn that little drain and you drain the fuel. That's the actual best way to do it.
Okay, so that way it stays lubricated, and you're not pumping in oil into the carburetor with no fuel.
Yeah. Because what happens when the fuel stands, it starts evaporating, even inside the carburetors. And that's what we had in your carburetors. Your carburetors were lined with the sludge, because of the fuel evaporates and leaves a residue behind there. So that's why then we got to take the carburetors apart, put them in an ultrasonic cleaner, clean them with an ultrasonic cleaner, and then put the thing back together.
Neil, last question about storing the boat. What do I do with my drain plugs at the bottom of my boat?
If your boat is standing where it could get dew and rain and that sort of stuff on, I'd leave the drain plug out. But otherwise, I would leave the drain plug in. And I'd leave the drain plug in because we've seen several times where ants, bees, I've had boats come there with a massive bee's nest in the bottom. So I think to leave the drain plug in, if you can, would be what my suggestion would be.
Okay, so leave it in, make sure it's dry, leave it open for a couple of days, and then close it up.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless it's standing outside where there's some rain and
Yes, because you don't want the water to start building up in the boat and lying in the bottom of the boat.
100%. Okay, so now we are going to have a look. What is the next thing that we are giving away? Let's see. Okay, the mystery prize we're going to chat about just now. So nou gaan ons gesels oor die 3 spesie bonanza en ons het gaan gesels met die manne wat dit aanbied. En ons gaan aan die einde van daardie insetsel gee ons die 4 kaartjies weg of ons gaan ten minste die vraag vra. So maak seker jy luister baie mooi want die antwoord van die vraag is in die volgende insetsel. En ons het gaan gesels met die voorsitter van daardie hengelklub. Ons kuier hier by die 3 spesie bonanza se groot baas. Hy is Wolle Prinsloo en hy is die voorsitter van Koning Makreel See Hengelklub daar in Witbank. Wolle, baie welkom hier by ons.
Baie dankie. Dankie dat julle ons deel maak van julle stywe lyne ook. Ons is groot hengelaars en ons lees julle tydskrif ook baie graag.
As julle hengelaars is en julle het 'n lyn in die water, is julle altyd deel van die familie. Baie dankie. Nou ja, ons gesels oor 'n baie interessante kompetisie. Dit is hierdie jaar se 3 spesie bonanza by Loskopdam op die 4de September as ek dit reg het.
Dis die 4de September, ja. Yes, die Saterdag.
Dis die Saterdag. So dis net 'n eendag kompetisie en dis net die Saterdag.
Dis reg, die kompetisie is skop af met eerste lig wanneer die polisie vind dis veilig om vir die bote om op die water te ry. En dan sal dit 3:00 die middag is die afsnytyd en dan sal van tussen 3 en 5 ons het 'n ekstra uurtjie vir die inweeg omrede die COVID situasie net minder drukgang het en meer tyd het om te kan inweeg.
Okay, so ons is so 'n bietjie sosiale distansiering daar op die queue.
Dis hy, ja.
Okay. Net so vinnig op daardie kant, hoe gaan die inweegproses verloop? Hoe gaan dit werk?
Kyk, al ons inligting sal op 'n WhatsApp groep wees. Daar sal geen vergaderings, captains meetings, enigstens iets wees nie. Alles sal net op 'n WhatsApp groep gedeel word. Elke spesie word ingeweeg. Die vis word vir jou geweeg en die swaarste 3 sal die hele tyd op die tafel bly met die gewigte van elke spesie en dan die ander sal verwyder word weg. Ongelukkig geen vis mag uit 'n hounet uit teruggegooi word in die dam nie. Dan word die inligting derentyd op WhatsApp groep gedeel. Wie is die swaarste vis, wie is die tweede en wie is die derde. So jy gaan die hele tyd op hoogte gehou word aangesien daar geen toeskouers toegelaat word.
Okay, so dis eenvoudig, jy kom by die water uit, jy hou net jou grootste vis. Dit help nie jy kom daar met 'n sak vol vis aan nie. Jy hou net jou grootste vis, jy kom by die inweeg aan. Hulle weeg hom, hy gaan of op die tafel of hy gaan in die bin en jy gaan terug na jou braaiplek toe of waar ook al jy kyk.
Dis net so.
Okay, nou dis die 3 spesie. Nou ons ken die 3 spesie, ek hengel hom al vir die afgelope 20 plus jare. En dit is altyd nog baber en karp en dan is dit marrie en dan is dit kurper en dan is dit iets anderster. Hierdie jaar het julle heeltemal iets anderster gedoen. Wat is dit, die 3de spesie?
Dit is maar ons makreel. Weet jy, ons het die verlede kompetisie het ons maar kurper gehad en vir die hele dag was daar net 1 kurper gevang en die hengelaar het hom nog opgesny om te probeer 'n baber vang. So die prys was nooit gewen nie. En ons het net gevoel ons het met Loskopdam vergader en die parkeraad en op hierdie stadium word daar baie mooi makreel gevang. So ons wil graag die pryse laat wen, jy weet. So dis die rede hoekom ons makreel ook in samespreking met parkeraad het ons toe nou besluit op makreel.
Ek
Hy
dink
is op die stadium daar. Dit is 'n challenge. Ons hou almal van 'n challenge. Ons wil almal 'n nuwe spesies vang. So jy wat hom nog nie gevang het nie, dit sal hom laat 'n bietjie moeite doen om te sien hoe vang ek hom en dat ek hom gevang het.
ek dink ek natuurlik koop glad nie jou storie oor natuurbewaring en alles nie. Ek dink julle is heeltemal bias en net die feit omdat julle koning makreel hengelklap is, het julle moes julle nou maar makreel ingegooi het daar. Wat is dit nie die regte rede nie?
Nee, makreel wat ons is eintlik in die diepsee. Is eintlik soos wat ons dan in die Puta, maar ja, ek dink jy het 'n goeie punt daar weet en ek is bly raak het aan van nou af die verskoning gebruik.
Nou, so wat ons wel weet is dat die ou wat die grootste makreel gaan vang, gaan koning kry.
Ja, hy is die koning makreel.
Okay, Wolle, dis die 3 spesies. So moet ek al 3 spesies hê om 'n prys te wen.
Nee, glad nie. Op elke spesies die 3 grootste visse en jy kan slegs 1 vis per kompetisie inweeg. Jy kan hom nie vir jou eerste prys op die karp inweeg en dan vir 'n junior prys nie, so jy kan hom net eenmaal weeg vir 'n prys. Nee, daar is nie 'n prys vir die 3 spesies saam 'n prys nie, maar wel net vir die grootste van elke spesies.
Okay, kom ons begin gou. Kom ons begin by die makreel, aangesien ons nou met koning makrele te doen het hierso. Wat wen ek as ek die grootste makreel het?
Vir die grootste makreel is dit R10,000 kontant.
En as ek 'n junior is?
As jy 'n junior is daar 3 kontantpryse van R5,000 vir elke spesies die swaarste een.
Okay, so as ek 'n grootste karp bring, wat kry ek?
R5,000 vir as jy 'n junior is. As jy die grootste karp inbring, jy's 'n senior, wen jy die boot, is 'n 490 Bandit met 'n 60 Mercury 4-slag buiteboord, gesponsor deur Sunset Boats en Mercury Suid-Afrika.
Wow, daai is regtig waar 'n mooi prys. En die grootste baber?
Baber is R20,000 kontantprys en dan R15,000 en 'n R5,000 te tweede en derde.
Hoe maak ek as ek wil inskryf?
Jy kan ons webwerf besoek, www.3species, is dit 3 en spesie, lettertjie 3.co.za. Daar kan jy inskryf, jou vooraf inskrywing is bietjie goedkoper, R320 tot en met die 30ste Augustus. En daarna sal jy R350 betaal en as jy die dag by die kompetisie kom inskryf ook die Vrydag, dan sal jy ook R350 betaal.
Het julle plek daar vir oeverhengelaars ook? Kan ek van die kant af kom pap gooi daar en deelneem aan die kompetisie?
Ja, verseker, ons in die vorige kompetisie het ons dit nie aangebied nie. Hierdie jaar is ons terug met die 3 spesies. Oeverhengel, weer by Marulani en as ook by die tennisbane regs, die mense wat nou die dam ken, die ou pad, gaan ons daar ook stands uitsit, bietjie groter, net die weens die COVID reëls, dat ons bietjie meer spasie het. Maar ons soek lekker plekke, weet jy wat, ons wil graag ook hê die oeverhengelaars moet lekker hengel.
Okay, so ek kan hierdie jaar kom van die kant af vang, en ek kan die grootste karp vang en 'n boot wen en ek kan volgende jaar terugkom en van die boot af vang.
100% jou kans is goed. Ek sê altyd as jou naam op daai visserig is, gaan jy hom met riet vang, maar jy sal hom vang en die prys is joune.
Kan ek 'n kanoe, 'n aasboot of iets in dergeliks gebruik as ek van die oewer af hengel?
Ja, daar is wel mense wat kanoe gebruik, alhoewel ou moet net baie versigtig wees en in aanmerking neem daar's 400 tot 500 bote op die dam. Jy weet, en dis maar ou moet maar kyk na veiligheid, jy moet jou lewensbaadjies aantrek. Die veiligheid is natuurlik altyd eerste en ons is verantwoordelik vir die veiligheid, so dit moet net veilig geskied.
100%, ons gesels in elk geval nou so 'n klein bietjie later op hierdie program met Neil Baker van Escape Boating en dan praat ons ook oor veiligheid op bote en wat ons kykers te doen staan om seker te maak ons is veilig op die bote. Nou ja, Wolle, dit is dit. Jy het vir my vroeër gesê jy kan tot 1000 hengelaars vat daar, so daar's glad nie 'n beperking op plek nie. Jy moet net sorg dat jy daar uitkom. Forever Resorts het meer as genoeg plek om almal te akkommodeer. Is daar nog iets wat jy kan byvoeg?
Wil net vir julle sê, julle moet kom kyk vir Ever Resorts, Loskopdam, die laaste 2 jaar, Adrian wat daar is, hy het soveel veranderinge in daai kampeerplekke gedoen, daar's plaveisel ingesit, lieflik, hy doen baie op daai dam, so kom kyk, kom geniet die dag saam met ons, ons het nie baie reëls nie, ons wil hê julle moet visvang, so ons sal julle nie pla met allerlei tipe dingetjies, en kom hengel saam met ons, kom geniet dit, en geniet dit saam met jou familie, want dit is waarvoor ons dit wil doen, daar gaan geen skipper meetings wees nie, jy gaan in die aand lekker by jou kamp sit en jou visdokkies reg kry en saam met jou familie en jou vriende kuier, jy hoef nie te gaan skipper meetings bywoon nie.
100%, alles is op die inligtingsgroepe en almal kan dit daar kry. Ons span van Stywelyne gaan ook daar wees, so ons sal 'n kameraspan daar hê en ons gaan lekker kom kuier daar en ons gaan julle afneem en ons sal sorg dat julle ouppies op die water en die wat die grootste visse het, verseker in die tydskrif of ten minste in die digitale tydskrif verskyn.
Baie dankie, ons sien uit daarna om julle te ontmoet en bietjie saam met julle te kuier.
100%, Wolle, baie dankie en sterkte vir julle toernooi. Ons gee ook baie dankie vir julle wat vir ons 4 kaartjies weggee en ons gaan nou vir die ouens daar vra. Ek hoop julle het mooi gekyk en geluister op hierdie onderhoud, want die vraag kom hieruit. Daar sê baie dankie aan Wolle Prinsloo vir die lekker onderhoud daar. Dit lyk asof dit 'n baie lekker kompetisie gaan wees. Ons gaan al wees van Stywelyne se kant af. Shamaine gaan dit vir ons dek, so kom ontmoet ons span daar, ons kameras gaan al wees en as jy daar is, gaan ons jou vasvang en op kamera. En as jy die groot wenner is, dan gaan jy definitief in die tydskrif verskyn. Nou ja, daar's 4 kaartjies wat ons wil weggee. En ons moet 'n vraagie vra. So, hier's die vraag. Wat is die klub se naam wat die 3 spesie bonanza op Loskopdam aanbied? Eerste 20 ouens gaan aan die wiel op Facebook. So dis 'n Facebook kompetisie. Eerste 20 gaan aan die wiel en daaruit gaan ons later 4 name trek. Maar nou ons het 'n mystery prize hierso van Neil, maar ons gaan nou by hom uitkom. Ek het ook 'n mystery prize. Nou, hulle sê altyd, baie keer gebeur dinge met 'n doel. So, G2 is altyd die mense wat ons apparel maak, maar ons het nou nog van 'n vorige keer het ons 'n hemp bestel vir iemand en dit was die verkeerde size met die regte naam op. So, dat was 'n bietjie van 'n mix-up. So nou het ek 'n hemp, 'n bank angler hemp, 'n double XL en hy het Neil agterop. So niemand anderster as Neil kan hom gebruik nie. En is nogal Neil met 'n omlaag op. So Neil is nie vir jou nie, dis nie jou Neil hierdie nie.
Definitely not.
Hierdie is 'n NIE en not 'n NEI. Okay, so hier is iets vir julle daar buitekant. As daar 'n Neil is wat 'n double XL hemp dra en graag jou naam agterop wil hê, gooi vir ons 'n comment in die comment section hier op Facebook of op YouTube, maak nie saak waar nie, waar julle ook al kyk. En die eerste Neil wat sê hy's 'n Neil en sy naam word so gespel, jy het hom. Nou ja, ek wil net so 'n bietjie iets interessants ook 'n comment to Valerie Jacobs. Between her and John Barnost from Vibes.live on last week and Thursday, they did a nice interview with me while I was working at the Valdam. We were cleaning up some of the venues with all the lines. We were raking behind. And so they had an interview with me for that night's Vibes.live. So we are sitting there and it's cold and it's windy and we're working. And so John has got me on the phone and he says, "Oh, so how's it going? What are you doing?" I said to him, "John, I'm sitting back on a loafer in a pink bikini sipping on a mojito." So the whole interview, he couldn't get that picture out of his head. So on that Thursday night, they said, they would like to have me on this stage or on Four Anglers Live with a pink bikini on. So I said to him, I'll probably take you up on the challenge. So I asked John if I could borrow his pink bikini, and he wouldn't let me. So I need to go shopping. And have you ever gone shopping for a pink bikini in the middle of the winter? You can't find it. Not in my size, in any case. So John, no. And Valerie, I don't have my pink bikini on for tonight. And I will only do so if there are enough requests on this for me to do it at a future time in my pink bikini. And you will sponsor the mojito for the table. Is that a deal? Good. Okay. Let's carry on to the next insert. But first, thank you very much. Incidentally, this specific section coming up now was made possible by Escape Boating. So Neil, well, firstly, thank you for being part of the advertising family of our magazines for the past many years, more than 10, I think.
Pleasure.
Yeah. How long have we been running with us?
Long time.
Part of the family. So thank you for also sponsoring this.
Thank you for everything.
Okay, so let's talk about fishing. Now that's the important thing. That's why we have boats. That's why we have everything. So you are quite an esteemed bass angler, and you know much more about bass angling than I have ever read or seen. And that's one of your passions, isn't it?
It is, yes. Yeah.
And that's where Crackleback comes from, because you're a bass angler and you'd like to build a platform for you.
That's right.
Okay. So tell me about, I want to ask a couple of personal questions here, and it's going to be a quick fire. Favorite dam?
This winter.
Biggest bass?
3.99.
Where was that?
Magugu in Swaziland.
Favorite lure?
Stretch 40.
Favorite method of fishing?
I would say at Mojo or Texas. They're very, very, very close, Joe.
Okay, structure or not?
Trees are what I like, yeah.
Biggest blunder on the water while fishing bass?
Hitting a crocodile and breaking my gearbox off.
Where was that? Arabi?
That was a Robbie, yes.
Yes. We hit, myself and Duncan, we hit a crocodile, fortunately, with the trolling motor.
Okay.
But so you were going at speed?
I was doing about 110, yeah.
And you just see your...
my son Dean shouted something, and when I said to him, what? I hit the thing. And to me, it felt like a rock. We then had an argument, and he said to me, you should listen. And I said, I couldn't hear you. But that was it. The bottom of the gearbox was gone.
Yes, yeah. Crocodile's hard, eh?
Yeah. And we never saw that crocodile. It was gone. We never, I thought it would come up or something. Nothing. That crocodile was gone. So it's got a mercury skeg planted in its back somewhere.
So, Neil, when you talk bass fishing off a rig like yours, or any boat for that matter, and it doesn't have to be a crackleback, but what are the essential things that you need on a boat to fish bass effectively?
I would start with a trolley motor. Trolley motor is absolutely crucial. If you can't move around stealthily and quietly, you're not going to be able to catch us fish. You can't start your motor every time you want to move. So trolley motor, absolutely crucial. Trolley motor and fish finders are much more important than a big engine and a large boat. Big engines and large boats don't catch you fish. They save you time when you're fishing, but they don't catch you fish. And especially the new trolling motors now with spot lock in them, to me that's the biggest game changer in fishing.
How does spot lock work?
Spot lock has got a built-in GPS. So what it does is when you put it on, it reads the GPS position, and that thing then holds you in that GPS position. So the GPS then tells the trolling motor left, right, back, forward, and it'll hold you in that position.
Why would you eat spot lock, and when do you do that?
Well, if often what happens, you want to fish a certain structure, and especially if the wind is blowing, it's very difficult to keep the boat in the same position to fish that structure. So if you put on spot lock, you're going to actually only concentrate on fishing. You don't have to worry about standing on the trolling motor, getting too close, going far away. You put spot lock on, you forget about the boat. It's almost like going to stand on a platform.
Okay.
So that's really crucial. And
So it's a dynamic anchor.
absolutely. And also, if you catch a fish, you can just, if you're not on spot lock, you can put it on spot lock, which allows you then to go and take your fish off, put it in a live well, give it some muti to look after it if you want, and go back to exactly that same spot without being blown away or drifting away and that stuff.
Okay, what else on the deck is important for bass fishing?
Your electronics is absolutely crucial. If we look at when go back many years ago, there were not as many boats on the water, so the fishing was much easier than today. So you could basically get on a boat, go around the banks, cast in, and you would get yourself several fish for the day. But that doesn't happen anymore. So you need to really go find out where those fish are, go to the structure, go to the deeper waters, find the rock piles, the submerged trees, and also bait balls. You know, bait balls are very, very, especially now that it's coming up to warming up like that. The little bait fish are breeding. There's a lot of bait balls, and that you need to be able to have a good fish finder to find that.
When we spoke to Rudolf Venter a couple of weeks ago, we chatted about this Loskop 3 species bonanza and the fact that mackerel is now part of the species. And he tells me that you will find mackerel in about anything in about 15 meters of water, and they're normally hanging between something like 4 to 8 meters or something. So for that, I assume that a fish finder will be quite important.
You won't just find those fish without a fish finder, especially a fish finder with side imaging on. You'll be able to drive past because those mackerel sort of, there's not just one, there's like a whole lot of them.
Shoal.
Yeah, like a shoal. That's the word I was trying to think of. Yeah. And you go past and you pick that shoal up, then you can see the depth of the shoal. So, and it's very, very easy to pick that up then. And often what happens with it, if you've got a thermocline in there, those fish will be sitting on top of the thermocline. So if the thermocline is on 8 foot, it doesn't help to go and fish in 10 foot because and that fish won't go through the thermocline to actually, go and attack your bait. So that's crucial that you pick up the right depths and you can see where those fish are. Yeah. It's crazy to fish blind because then you're actually just spending time and wasting your energy.
Let's talk about other fish. What else have you personally caught that was great for you off your bass boat?
Look, your blue kerper, they're fantastic fish to catch. And it's actually quite interesting that they often take in, plastic lures. We've caught at Arabi, we caught those Chinese carp that are in there. We've caught one of them, but them on a fluke. We have caught some of them on crankbait, but foul hook in them.
Yeah.
Barbel, you often catch barbel. Yeah. We caught some massive barbel off the bass boats, especially on spinnerbaits and chatterbaits. You often pick up and crankbaits. You often pick up barbel on them. But
what I enjoyed with them, especially with our 570 and the big deck, is we went fishing for barbel with a fly on Valdam and Bloemhof and so forth. Yes. Of the 570. Yeah. Running up into the sloops and so on, and then you could really do well with that 570. You could have a guy on the back and one on the front, yes. Both doing fly fishing. Yes. Okay. If we're talking light tackle boat, now you will always at these type of competitions, you will always get the guys with the bass boats that will win the race to wherever they're going. That can go at 110 and 120 and plus, and then you will get your guy with your light tackle boat. Type of boat. So what's the essential difference between the two types of boats?
The big difference is the light tackle boats. Those guys carry a lot of bait and they catch a lot of fish. The average bass boat that the guys are in, if you had to put 100 kilos of fish on that boat, it won't pull off. Those boats are built to carry one live well with a couple of fish in it, and that's how it's going to come on the plane. If you put an extra 100 kilos on that boat, that's going to battle to pull off. And the bass guys carry much more tackle. a bigger variety of rods. And they don't anchor. They use the trolling motor as we light tackle. The guys are anchoring, making feeding spots. So they're drawing the fish to their bait, where the bass fisherman takes his bait to the fish. That's I think one of the big.
Go look for it. That's the big difference.
You go look for them.
What is the essential pieces, or what are the essential pieces of equipment that you would want on a light tackle boat, or a general run around that the guys go and fish the bonanzas with?
I would first thing I would suggest is make sure that your boat has got deeper gundles, because when you start anchoring and the wind pulls up, you're not going to just pack up and go home. And many of these competitions, the guys get into a lot of trouble because they're on anchor. The wind comes up, the water starts washing over the back of the boat, and now the boat starts submerging, and they struggle with that.
So the higher gunnels will then
higher gunnels and a false transom, not an open transom. Because if you've got an open transom, the water washes straight into your boat. If you've got a false transom, the water will wash into your transom and it'll run out the back of the false transom. They're not going to want to go into the boat.
What about anchoring? What do you need to anchor safely, if I can call it that?
There are guys that fish with 2 anchors. There's guys that fish with 3 anchors, and there's guys that fish with 4 anchors. Yeah, and obviously the conditions of the day and also the conditions of the I'm just on the bottom of the dam. If the dam is quite rocky, you could maybe get away with slightly less anchors. But if it's muddy, then you want to fish for more anchors, because you want your boat to be in a stable position.
So you can see the bite.
Absolutely. If your boat is rocking and rolling, you're not going to feel the bite. You're not going to see the bite, and then you also you're not going to be casting onto your spot all the time. So if the boat is nice and stable, and there you must have a decent anchor, and your anchor must be suited to the bottom of the dam. If you're fishing in mud, then you must have a mud anchor. If you're fishing around rocks, you have a rock anchor.
What's the difference, essentially?
A mud anchor is more like almost like a plow. It digs down into the mud. But the crucial thing on all your anchors is to have a chain on it.
Why?
Because what happens, the chain actually lies down because it's heavy, and that chain acts like a shock absorber. So as the boat moves, the chain just picks up without pulling on the anchor. So the last place that the stress gets put on is on the anchor. And then that means that the anchor can actually stay in position for much longer periods of time. And it's easy to keep it in position.
How long must the chain be?
Between 3 and 5 meters.
Okay, that's quite a chain.
It's quite a chain, yeah.
But it's important to have it right lying on the bottom.
Yeah, even offshore, your chain is absolutely crucial, because you've got a swell, and the swell picks the boat up and down. And if you haven't got a chain, when the swell picks the boat up, you'll pull the anchor out.
Because the line, especially the nylon, it also floats a little bit.
Yes.
If it pulls directly onto the anchor,
you'll just pull that anchor out all the time. You'll never keep a boat in position without chain on your anchors.
Now, we've spoken a lot in the first session about fuel and carburetors and so forth, and you elaborated on fuel that goes fraught but can also be dirty.
Yes.
So you're giving away something very interesting here that will sort out that problem in terms of dirty fuel. So
Absolutely.
Just explain to us what you have here.
This is an all South African, I would call it, it's not an invention because we all know about filters, but it's an all South African product. It's all made out of plastic, so that there's no rust involved. If you look at all the other filters that we buy from all over the world, they've all got metal filters in them. So if you've got water coming on your boat, and that the metal filter over time can rust, bump it and scratch it and that stuff. So this being all plastic, there's absolutely no problem. And that also,
what does this do?
This thing will, if you've got dirt or water in your fuel, it'll take up to 99% of dirt or water out of your fuel. So if your boat is now, and sometimes you get fuel from a petrol station, you get some water in there. That's not uncommon. You do get it. So instead of your motor now not going and your vision's ruined for the day, this filter would actually take that out.
And I guess also It's not like a car where you put in new fuel every week. I mean, you can put in fuel this weekend, have a half a tank left over, park it somewhere for a month or 3 weeks or something, and it's got to breathe, so there's all dust and that type of thing going into the fuel, and this will sort it out.
That will take it out.
It says marine fuel filter water blocker.
That thing filters down to half a micron. Half a micron is really fine. Most of your motor cars don't even filter down. Your motor cars that you buy, the filters in them will not filter down to half a micron.
Okay, and where do you put this in terms of in the boat? Where does it go into the process?
In between the tank, especially on built-in tanks. Loose tanks you can take out and clean them, flush them out, look into the bottom. But if you've got a built-in tank, you can't do that. Your tank is built into your boat. You fill that thing up. You just hope that there's no dirt or something in there. Yeah. So where you come out, you can mount this, just before your primer bulb there where it goes onto the engine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got a nice plastic bracket on the back, so you haven't got rust there.
So you bolt it somewhere onto the boat.
Yes.
Must it be upright or can it be upright?
It must be upright.
Must be upright.
Yeah, because the more water settles to the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it comes in like that.
Yes.
And I see you've got a spare as well. So when you
get the kit, it comes with a spare. So what is very simple, if you now have had a water problem or once a year or once every 2 years you decide you want to do it, all you do, these little clips fit on there. You clip that thing off. You clip your new, that little thing just clips on top.
Oh, okay.
If you have a look at lots of your new motor engines all come with these little things. So you just clip that one off. And just push the little sides in there.
Well, both sides. Yes. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, it's easy.
You put your new filter in, and you clip on there, and you clip on there, and away you go.
Okay.
So this, in actual fact, will even save on servicing because you don't need to take your carburetors on and off if you're getting a little bit of dirt or dust or sand. And many times when you go to the Vaal Dam and you fish in there, and you've got fuel in jerry cans. And sometimes there you pick up a little bit of dirt and that stuff. That goes into your built-in tank, and over time, that dirt builds up, and one day it starts going through into your engine.
What would a set like this cost?
3,200.
Okay, well, that's quite a nice price. Daar's ons vir julle nou 'n pragtige prys. En ons gaan hom weggee. So hierdie is die prys wat ons nou nog gaan weggee nadat ons geluister het wat sê Bernard Venter oor die Super Bonanza. Baie interessant, kom ons gaan luister. Ons het lekker met hom gekuier en hy vertel vir ons van die Super Bonanza by 3 verskillende damme. Môre julle, ons is op pad nou toe daar by Mokopani en as ons iewers heen ry, doen ons dit altyd dubbel vir meer redes en alles. So ons het sommer gou hier by Bernard gestop in Pretoria, dit is lekker 5:30 in die oggend. En hulle het al hulle bemarkingsmateriaal by ons bestel, posters en flyers en hele werke en ons tydskrifte gebring en alles. Môre Bernard, dankie dat jy so vroeg kom.
Ja, baie vroeg in die keer vandag, ja, vir 'n goeie rede.
Wel, ek gaan daarom vis kom.
Ja, nee, ek gaan vir werk vandag, ja.
Maar jy is vroeg genoeg om te gaan werk.
Ek is nie laat nie, ja.
Super Bonanza, ek sien hier staan Elegant Fuel Super Bonanza 2021. Wat is 'n Super Bonanza?
Ja, nee, jy weet ons het laas jaar so lekker Bloemhof Bonanza gehad, né? So ons het daai dieselfde formaat uitgebrei na meer damme toe. Ons doen dit vanjaar by die Vaaldam, die Bloemhof en by Roodkoppiesdam.
Jy praat van daardie formaat, dieselfde formaat.
Ja.
Wat is die formaat anders as ander jare?
Ja, waar ons altyd 'n toernooi gehad het oor 'n naweek het ons nou die laaste Bloemhof Bonanza gedoen oor 4 maande. Hierdie Super Bonanza gaan ons doen oor 2 maande. Dit gaan van 1 September tot die 31 Oktober. Hou ons dit by al die damme.
Dis 'n lang kompetisie.
Ja, nee, dit is
vir die 5 tydperk.
Ja, nee, want dit is maar
kan ek 60 dae by die dam gaan sit.
Nee, nie heeltemal nie, want daar's 'n beperking vir dit daar. Jy kan 5 keer gaan of jy kan 8 dae gaan in totaal.
Okay, so ek kan 2 maande lank in daai tydperk na enige een van 3 verskillende damme gaan.
Ja.
En ek kan 'n totaal van 8 dae spandeer of 5 verskillende damme.
5 keer. Ja.
Wow.
Okay, so dis interessant. Wat is die 3 damme?
Is Bloemhofdam, Valdam en die Rodekoppiesdam.
Okay, en wat moet ek vang?
Karp en baber, as die teikenspesies, jy kan of 'n oewer of 'n boot.
Okay, so ek gaan vang karp en baber en nou hoe werk my punte? Waar
Ja,
weeg ek?
ja. Dit ons werk op 'n lengteformaat. Jy kry punte per sentimeter. Ons het nie 'n gewone inweeg nie. Ons moes die hele toernooi moes aanpas om by die COVID regulasies in te pas.
Ja.
Dit is om dit oor 'n termyn hardloop, nie 'n naweek hengel nie. Ons kan nie gathering hê nie.
Ja, ja.
So jy het 'n baie tyd om te gaan. Enige een van die 3 damme, elkeen van die 3 damme het hulle eie kompetisie.
Okay, so dis lengte en ek kry punte per sentimeter. Ek kry dieselfde hoeveelheid punte vir 'n baber en 'n karp.
Nee, 'n baber is langer, so jy kry minder punte vir 'n baber per sentimeter vir 'n karp en ook die verskillende damme. Jy weet, Rodekoppies se karp is groter as Bloemhof of Valdam. So daar kry jy ook per sentimeter bietjie minder punte om met die damme kompeteerbaar te maak.
So dis baie wetenskaplik uit.
Baie goed uitgerig, ja.
Kompeteer die damme teen mekaar vir die groot prys.
Ja, ja.
Okay, en die damme op hulle eie?
Elke dam het sy eie kompetisie. Ja.
Okay, so wat kan ek wen as ek Rodekoppies se kompetisie wen?
Ja, kyk, elkeen van die damme het gelyke eerste prys by elke dam is R15,000 kontant. En dan is daar ook hengelpryse vir elke dam, eerste, tweede, derde. So elke dam gaan sy eie kompetisie hê en dan gaan ons overall kyk wie die beste gedoen tussen al 3 damme.
Ek sien ons
dis waar die groot pryse inkom.
Daar's 3 buiteboats ook, een vir elke dam.
Ja, een vir elke dam.
Okay.
Ja, ja.
En die groot prys?
Ja, algeheel R50,000, maar om jy dan ook outomaties 'n damwenner sou wees, dan sê 15 plus 50 kry. En dit is algeheel R65,000 vir die eerste prys. Die tweede prys is R25,000 plus die 15 as jy 'n damwenner was, dan is dit R40,000.
Is dit 'n gekombineerde prys of is dit net een spesie?
Nee, dit is 'n enkel spesie. So as jy gestel die eerste prys het gegaan vir die langste baber, algeheel was dit die baber, dan sal die tweede prys vir die karp wees.
Oh, okay, so elke ou, maak nie saak watter spesie jy teiken nie.
Jy het 'n kans
Jy
om te
het 'n
wen.
kans, jy het 'n kans om te wen.
Ja.
Ek sien hier soos 'n massa lucky draws ook. R30,000 se field vouchers deur Elegant Fields.
Ja, weet jy, ja, ons gaan weer 'n keer groot gaan op die lucky draws en dan het ons ook wat lekker weer is, ons het weer die spanne kompetisie teruggebring. Hoe dit gaan werk is vir die grootste spanne, die beste hengeldrag, die beste span gees. Daar's R10,000 se kontantprys wat ons daarop uitgee.
Wow.
En dan hengeldrag en sulke goeders.
Dis ek mooi genoeg gedres vir 'n span.
Jy lyk nogal heel goed, hoor. Ek dink jy kan goed doen.
Ek weet my hele span met mekaar.
Ja.
Weer eens net 1 September tot die 31ste Oktober. Waar kan hulle meer inligting kry?
Ja. Natuurlik gaan hulle oor Hengelaar tydskrifte kyk, né? Hulle tydskrifte, daar gaan jy meer inligting kry en daar sal hulle op die webwerf sien en ja, jy koop jou kaartjies aanlyn, né? Dis R350 'n kaartjie. Maar ons het op 'n hele klomp winkels ook hierdie jaar kaartjies beskikbaar gemaak. So gaan kyk in die tydskrif en sê jy sien waar kan jy die kaartjies koop as jy dit nie aanlyn wil koop en na 'n hengelwinkel toe gaan.
Okay, 100%. Maar as jy na Four Angles toe gaan, dan gaan jy na events en dan sal jy die Bloemhof Bonanza se event daar kry met al hulle inligting. Daar kan jy dan klik op die skakel en hy vat jou direk deur na hulle webwerf toe waar jy die kaartjie kan koop.
Dit is 100% net
Okay,
so, ja.
verder gaan jy na die hengelwinkels toe en ek sien wie is jou hoof borg?
Kyk, Elegant Field is die hoofborg en dan die algehele tweede prys is Kosh Marine van Klerksdorp. Hulle gee weer 'n volledig toegeruste spesimen dak en dan is Dennis Morray.
Het jy 'n geryborg?
Ja, Pen is ons hengelgeryborg. En dan
Goodie bags?
die goodie bags is
Twin Series.
Twin Series, ja, jy's reg.
Ja, hulle afpakkies.
Ja.
Okay, en onthou, julle sal ook 'n klompie teruguitgawes van die Oeverhengelaar en die Stywyne kry as jy hom dalk gemis het.
Ja, nee, is deel van die goodie bags. Almal kry ook eerste 1000. Kry pette, Bonanza pette.
En mieliepap meel.
Ja, lekker. Ja, Twin Series is weer in Asborg. En natuurlik daai lekker yskas wat Dennis Morrow altyd borg, né? Dit is die derde algehele prys.
Die Engel
Camping Freezer, ja.
Okay, Bernard, well done, baie geluk. Dis 'n uitstekende inisiatief. Dit hou hengel aan die gang.
Verseker, né?
Maak dit moontlik vir ons hengelers om by plek. So, ons gather almal saam, nie saam.
Ja, hier
So ons is almal by dieselfde plek op verskillende tye.
Ja,
Verskillende
Oewers,
oewers.
damme.
So uitstekend. Well
Ja, sien
done.
uit daarna.
Well done aan Echo Care Trust. Julle doen absoluut alles vir Engel. Ons waardeer dit en dit is nou weer eens bewys. Baie dankie en sterkte. Hier is al jou posters en flyers en
Ja.
alles wat oral by die herke gaan beskikbaar wees.
Ja, baie dankie. Is lekker om saam met julle as Engel-vennote te werk, media-vennote.
Okay, daar sê julle, so daar het julle dit alles. Gaan ondersteun hulle. As jy 'n naweek net wil gaan wegbreek iewers jy dalk oor 'n vakansietjie of selfs in die week as jy pensionaris is dit die beste tyd om lekker langs die dam te gaan sit en vir jou 'n aanvullingkie tot jou pensioen te gaan verdien. Sien julle weer.
Kontant is koning.
Daar sê, dankie Bernard. Baie interessante bonanza daai. Die konsep is gebore natuurlik as gevolg van COVID en 'n lekker 2 maande tydperk wat jy het om die bonanza aan te gaan hengel. Now we're going to give away this mystery prize, which is not a mystery anymore. It is a field system worth more than 3,000 rand. Okay, this is being run on Facebook, and the first 10 guys with the correct answer will be in the draw. So, in the last 15 years, what is Escape Boating's most successful boat range called? Wat is die mees suksesvolle bootreeks wat Escape Boating in die laaste 15 jaar gebou het? Neil het vir ons die antwoord gegee. Ek wil hê jy moet dit nou vir my teruggee en dit in die Facebook comments plaas. Okay, now we're back to Neil. We're on the last section. We've got, I think, 10 or 11 minutes for that. Neil, a very important part of boating, and I think mostly neglected, is boat safety. What are the crucial things about boat safety? Let's talk about that. Let's start with equipment. What do you need to be safe on the boat?
You got standard safety equipment that comes with your COF.
For the guys who's not boaters, what's a COF?
The COF is a certificate of fitness. So that tells you that your boat is fit to go on.
Oh, it's your boat, not you.
Yeah, no. Yeah, the one for you is a certificate of competency. That's what we call the skipper's ticket. So that's like in motor cars, you got a driver's license, and on your vehicle you got a roadworthy.
Okay, so your COF is your roadworthy or your waterworthy?
Waterworthy, yes. Okay. Yeah. Look, obviously, life jackets are crucial. Everything in any sport, in any part of life, the human life comes first. So anything with a boat would be to make sure that if there was an incident, that the human life would be saved. If we go back many years ago, boats never had any buoyancy in them. If you hit a rock in the middle of the dam, put a hole through the bottom of your boat, that boat would go to the bottom of the dam and you'd be left stranded or drowned or something like that. So they brought the buoyancy in so that if you do hit a rock, that boat will not just sink away to the bottom. You would be able to hold on to that boat.
So I'm interrupting you with this, but I just want to go back a little bit to, you said, you spoke about life jackets.
Yes.
But you get life jackets and life jackets. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? What types do you get and which ones are the right ones and how do you select?
All your life jackets are now have to be approved by the department. So all your life jackets, you get life jackets that are 50 Newton meters and you get life jackets that are 100 Newton meters. 50 Newton meter life jackets are used for freshwater, and when you go offshore, then you must have 100 Newton meter life jacket. So that just means that it can carry more weight. If you're going to look at, you can't just buy cheap life jackets anymore. In the old days, you could get life jackets with no certification or anything like that. But that's been gone now for a good 12, 14 years. When buoyancy came in, COFs came in for boats, life jackets came in, and they had to be the correct life jackets. There was a big scramble in South Africa. You couldn't buy life jackets because it's illegal to sell a life jacket that has not got the correct certification.
Okay, so it has to be certified as well.
Yeah.
So my old life jacket that's been in the garage for 25 years, I should rather exchange for something newer.
You have to do that. If you get caught on the water with that life jacket and it hasn't got your correct SABS certification, you could actually get up to 1,200 rand fine.
Okay, but that's relatively cheap compared to a human life.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you. If you buy a decent life jacket now, you're going to have the thing for 10 years. So if you take 800 or 900 rand over 10 years, it's going to cost you $90 a year. It doesn't really make sense to try and skimp on that.
I see that, especially the bass guys, they've got another life jacket on. It's like a thin. It almost looks like a vest.
Yes.
What is that about?
That life jacket has a bladder in it, and it has a little tube that will. When it's got a little, you can pull it manually, which will then set the tube off. Or
it's also, like a canister that is under pressure, yes, so it blows up.
Yes, it'll blow up. It's called an inflatable life jacket. Also, those things. And many guys, they go overseas and they bring them back with Mustang on them and all these things, but they have to be legal to be part of your CIF. And that life jacket is nice because it takes very little space in your boat. And also, most life jackets are uncomfortable. And
you can't fish with it the whole day.
You can't fish with
that one you can.
That one you can. And especially if weather conditions are not nice and you're standing on the deck of a boat, it's fairly easy to fall off that boat. And if you fall off a boat in poor weather conditions, if you got spot lock on it, it's okay, the boat will stay in place. But if it's poor weather conditions and you fall off, the wind's going to push that boat away. You could really be in trouble.
Now, you said you can pull that one and it can be inflated manually?
Yes.
So I take that there's an automatic
process as well.
Yes. How does that work?
The automatic one has got a little tablet inside. And once that little tablet gets moisture on it, that thing will automatically go off.
Will it go off in rain or does it have to be submerged?
If the rain gets onto the tablet, it will go off. Many guys leave the thing in their back hatch. And then the boat gets rained on in the back hatch, and the next thing the back hatch pops open and the life jacket's open. But it has got a cover on it, so that tablet is all inside. But it won't just go off.
It needs to be submerged.
It would need to be submerged.
Okay, so if you fall off and you're in the water, the tablet will then absorb or whatever, and then the canister will pop and it will be...
It's got a little needle that will then punch into the canister then opens up, and when they first came on the market, I actually put one on to try it, and I actually got quite a fright because that thing inflates in a split second. Doof, one shot. It's like a gunshot.
Yeah.
And they fit nicely. They fit around like that. So yeah,
it's like an airbag in a car.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And you do get replacement canisters. So if the thing does go off, you get a replacement that you could put in. It's not another thing's gone off. You have to buy a new life jacket.
Okay. You were starting to talk about buoyancy and what do you put in the boat in terms of getting the COF for buoyancy?
90% of your boats that are manufactured now are manufactured with a closed cell foam, a polyurethane foam. So that gets put in.
What is a closed cell foam?
Closed cell, if you take a sponge that's in your bathroom, that's an open cell foam. So that thing, you just put it in the water and it absorbs all the water in. A closed cell foam means the little bubbles are actually, every single one is separate. They don't link into each other.
Okay, and each one has got a little bubble in.
That's a little bubble, yes. Yeah. So most of those little walls are like half a micron, 1 micron, thick. So that thing won't just absorb water. If it's incorrectly installed and it has problems, you can get water to migrate in there. But if you build the boat correctly, you'll never get water into that foam.
Okay, you're saying that nowadays all the boats are built like that. What if I've got an old boat that's 20 years old and it doesn't have flotation in them?
Look, there are different ways. You can take it to a guy and he can put that foam in. I would always recommend that you go to guys that know what they're doing because... and also, that's quite a popular thing that some guys are using is a closed cell hard foam. You can buy it at a company called Sondor. It's what they make pool noodles and that sort of stuff out. you can put that foam underneath your deck and put it in.
Okay, so let's say I've got an old boat and I'm worried about that. I can then take it to escape boating, and you can then do that for me. How do you go about? Do you cut it open or?
Well, we do. The first thing you got to do is you got to work out the weight of the boat, because the buoyancy has to be 30% of the weight. So you can't just put buoyancy in and say that thing is got buoyancy. So you work out the weight of the boat. We know over the time what boats have. We used to weigh them, but we don't need to weigh them unless it's a really different boat. So we then know, and we would go underneath the floor, and we would inject the stuff underneath the floor. But if you can't get enough underneath the floor, because many boats are very, very flat, then you would have to put some, in the nose, at the back by the gondolas, in the back corners, to make sure that you got enough buoyancy that the boat doesn't sink when it's flooded.
What's the principle of enough buoyancy? How do I know what will happen practically when I've got enough buoyancy, and what happens if I don't have enough buoyancy?
Well, if you don't have enough buoyancy, if you ever punched a hole in your boat and you got water in, the boat will sink and it'll be gone. So you'll be left floating there with your life jacket if you've got it on, and the boat's just going to keep on sinking and it's going to be gone. If you've got enough buoyancy, even if just the top of the nose sticks out, then you know you've got enough. Somewhere that you can hold on to and not just drift around all on your own.
Okay, so it means that if something goes wrong, you punch a hole in the bottom, or you've caught in a storm and there's water over the transom, and so it means that the whole boat can fill with water,
Yes.
and it will not go down.
That's right.
Okay. Everything will be floating all over,
Yes.
but it won't go down. It will
Yeah.
stick out in a way you will not lose it, and there will be something that you can hold on to.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we lost some 20 years back. My friend lost his Puma, little Puma, and he didn't have enough buoyancy. So
It's probably had none, and
yeah,
because the
probably had
factories never put in at that
Yeah.
point in time.
we went diving for that boat. It was stuck in 20 meters of water in Middelburg Dam, and we actually got it out.
Okay. Yeah.
It was an interesting project
Yeah.
to go down and actually get it out. Yeah. Okay, so that's now buoyancy. What else in terms of boat safety? I believe there's one very important factor called common sense in terms of boat safety.
Well, anything in life, but boating too, the thing is with boating, a lot of people think this is a lot of fun. Let's just go out and they start having a lot of fun, and they forget about that you still need to put common sense down. You still need to make sure that you keep your distances. And a big thing with the boat's got no brakes. So you can't just all of a sudden think, wow, and put on brakes. You got to back off, and then the boat will stop on its own. So that's a crucial thing to learn to judge distances of how far a boat takes to stop. And that's where your common sense comes in.
At these type of competitions, it's always quite incredible in the morning when the flare goes and so on. It's like 500 boats going. So it's always a bit of chaos, and you've got the big boats, and you've got the cats, and you've got the small little dinghies, and it's quite a mess. What would you think, or what advice can you give our viewers in terms of the don'ts from a safety point of view, when you enter these type of competitions?
If you've got a small boat, let the big boats go, because it becomes like a washing machine, and it's so easy to just take a wave right over the nose of your boat. And the first thing you're going to do, that you take a wave over the nose of the boat, and the boat's full, your engine's not going to be able to push that thing. So it's going to take many of the freshwater boats do not have self-draining decks. So if you now get
a bathtub.
Yeah. So you're going to fill that bathtub up. You'll have a bilge pump in there. Most boats have got bilge pumps. But a bilge pump is going to pump 600 gallons an hour as a small bilge pump. Some of the bigger ones are 1,000. But you're going to have 2,000 gallons in your boat. So it's going to take you 2 hours to drain that boat. And you're going to be in trouble. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to lose your equipment. Because a monohull can turn over very, very simple. you get scared, you run to the one side, the boat tilts to the side, you run to the other side, and the boat,
Water goes there and it goes.
and then the water comes behind you and it tilts over. So if you don't let the big guys go, there's fish all over the dam. We all have our favorite little spots that we want to go to and all that stuff. But let those big guys go. You're going to just get yourself into trouble. And that's where the common sense comes that you're talking about. Don't try and compete with the big guns when you're not there. You're gonna really hurt you. And you can damage your boat like that. Easy to damage your boat.
What, in terms of lighting on the boat, what do you need? What are the must-haves?
Well, legally, nobody should be on the dam in the dock. Legally. Many different areas have different rulings, but legally, because to be on a boat in the dark, you need night rating on your boat. And a skipper should have night rating on his skipper's tickets. No freshwater guys do that. If you look at your offshore guys, they got to get night rating and that sort of stuff. But you need to have a bow light on the front, which shows you red and green, which shows you port and starboard. You need that, and then you need an all-round white light at the back. The all-round white light is supposed to be 1 meter above the highest part of your boat. But most of the guys have only got an all-round white light. That's about 600 millimeters above the gunwale. But at least if you've got a light, people can see you, because it's so easy, especially when it's rough like that and it's cold. It's easy to misjudge, and it would be terrible to drive over somebody. That would really spoil everything. And
Especially if the big guys can do that easily with a small boat.
They could, and it would be easy for a small boat to turn in front of, or a small boat could get swamped, and he can't get out the way. They're going to drive over him. So it's crucial to just use common sense.
The last thing I want to ask on that, or maybe just put it out there, is dead man switch.
Oh, that's also crucial. No, that's absolutely crucial, because
let's explain to the viewers, what is it?
Well, a dead man switch is what it's called, a kill switch. So what happens, that is connected into your control box, and you connect it to yourself, either to your wrist or your life jacket or your pants or something like that. So if you get thrown out of position, that thing will pull off and it'll cut the engine immediately. So if you haven't got that, let's say you did get washed over by a big boat, and those big boats will put a wake right over your boat. If you get pushed out of the steering, you could get pushed off the boat, and the boat will just keep on going. So at least if the dead man switch is there, gets pulled off, and the boat will stop there, right there where it is, the engine will get cut. Also safety, because if the propeller is still running, that could be terrible for somebody.
Especially if your steering is cranked or something, and the boat will go in circles and you'll fall out.
Yeah. And lots of the smaller boats have got steerings that are not non-feedback or hydraulic steerings. So that boat will just start turning in a circle, and that circle will get smaller until the steering's right to the one side. And that could then drive over somebody. Now, I've actually seen that, where somebody was on holiday and he was sitting on the gunwale, and he was actually towing his father as a skier, and they hit a wake, and he fell out the boat. And that boat went over that guy. They had to lift him out with a helicopter there. That was terrible to see that. They're having fun, and they just turn south like that.
Well, that's it. Neil, thank you. That's what we've got time for. Baie dankie julle, en dankie Neil dat jy met ons gedeel het. So as julle daar is, eerste ding, maak seker jou boot is reg. As dit meer is as wat jy kan hanteer, vat hom in na Escape Boating. En dit sal jou met graag te help om jou boot weer reg te kry. En as jy by daai groot kompetisies is, wees versigtig. Maak seker jy toon respek, nie net teenoor die ander bote en die ander mense nie, maar ook teenoor jou crew en die mense wat saam met jou is. En ek sê altyd, dis lekker om te gaan kuier, maar net soos op die pad, Neil, and I think this is quite important, where the common sense comes in. You shouldn't be drinking and driving, whether you're on the road or whether you're on the boat.
No, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. Look, it's different if you go, and I'm not promoting it, but it's different if you sitting there on a boat and you have one drink or something. But when you start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drinks, that's not correct. And in actual fact, that's before they brought in skipper's licenses. There was no ruling that said you couldn't drink on your boat. And there were several instances where people were killed and nothing could happen. Now that you've got the
Legally.
skippers, if you drive over somebody and you've been drinking, you're going to be held liable for that. And if you kill that person, you'll be up for manslaughter.
Maar dit is ook nou net een van daai dinge, jy moet respek hê vir die res van die mense om jou, die ander bote. Onthou as jy op 'n groot kompetisies is, dan is daar 'n hele klomp bote, en die middag as almal wil teruggaan en gaan inweeg, jy vang tot op die laaste en dan jaag almal terug om betyds te wees vir die inweeg. En dis dan waar die oordeelsfoute kom, die lyne verkeerd gekies word, as jy nou 'n paar biere agter die blad het. So, wees versigtig, wees veilig, sodat jy die volgende keer weer kan hengel en dat jou kinders en die mense op die boot veilig is. Nou ja, dit is dit. Neil, thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you for the invite and thank you for the interesting conversation.
Okay. Ek hoop julle het iets geleer. Ek het 'n paar interessante goed bygeleer en nou is dit tyd om al hierdie baie pryse weg te gee. So, Neil, how the process is, and I hope you can see on that screen. He's going to bring it up pretty big, so he's going to throw the names in there. En hierdie eerste ene is die YouTube kompetisie vir die watter een is hierdie? Die vraag was, wat het Lappies in sy kas in terme van flouties? En jy moes 2 van die volgende ingesit het: Bun Spice 32, Legend, Joanna Plain en Turntale of Garlic. So daar's die 10 ouens wat reg was en Jonathan gaan hom vir ons spin.
Net 'n probleempie.
Daar's 'n klein tegniese probleempie, ons gee hom net gou kans om dit uit te sorteer. Sy wiel wil nie draai nie, hy's al ouer as 5 jaar. Jy het kans om hom reg te kry. Okay, is hy gereed? Hy wil nie laai nie. Okay, hy laai. En kom ons wys hom op die skerm. Gooi hom op die ander skerm ook. En spin. Daar's hy. Kom ons kyk wie wen die Supercast hamper. Jy moet hom groter maak, ons gaan hom nie kan lees nie. Daar kom die grootte nou in. Okay, en dit is die jaar van die saak, die ou se YouTube naam. Jy kan hom vir ons lees.
Rudy's 1977.
Okay, so Rudy's wat ook al in 1977 gebore is, of jou vrou, of jou girl, of jou kind. Baie geluk, jy is die wenner van hierdie Supercast hamper. Maak seker, jy kontak die administrateurs op die site, en jy het die kontak besonderhede daar dat ons vir jou die pakkie kan stuur. Onthou, al ons pryse word uitgestuur met die komplimente van JKJ Express Couriers. Neville Rudiker, thank you very much for being part of this family and getting all the prizes out there safely to all our winners. Die volgende kompetisie. En daar gaan ons 4 keer. Het ons 20 daarin, Jonathan? 19. Okay, so ons het 19 regte antwoorde gehad. Die antwoord wat ons gesoek het, die klub wat dit aanbied, is Koning Makreel Hengelklub. En ons gaan 4 kaartjies trek, en ons gaan 4 mense kan stuur na hierdie kompetisie met die komplimente van Koning Makreel Hengelklub. Baie dankie aan julle, Wolle, vir hierdie 4 kaartjies. Goed, kom ons spin hom vir die eerste een.
Dewald Weyer.
Okay, Dewald Weyer is die eerste een, haal hom uit die mix uit en dan gaan ons hom weer. Is hy nie. Okay, is reg, Dewald Weyer, jy kan nie weer wen nie, jou naam bly nog in die wiel. Kom ons spin hom 'n tweede keer.
Chris Reder.
Chris Reder, baie geluk. Jy gaan Bonanza toe by amper sê ek Bloemhof, by Loskop. Derde ene.
Barry Tron.
Barry Tron, jy gaan lekker ry. Barry Tron is een van ons gereelde adverteerders. Hy doen die aasbote, hy bly daar in Blouberg strand, so jy kan lekker kom hengel en die Kaap verruil vir Loskopdam? En die laaste ene,
François Leroux.
baie geluk François Leroux. So daar's die 4 manne wat elkeen 'n komplementêre kaartjie het om 'n boot te gaan wen. Neil, daai boot, dis 'n pragtige R75,000 se boot, daai klein center console met die 60 Mercury op.
It's a very nice boat. Really, it's a very nice boat. And that Mercury engine on the back that 4-stroke 60 is a fantastic engine. Really, really good.
En it's light on juice, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got one of those 4-stroke 60s in my factory. It's got 11,000 hours on.
Wow.
Yeah, and the thing still goes. That's a fantastic price. That really, really nice price.
Ek dink miskien moet ek ook gaan hengel. Okay, die volgende ene. Nou gee ons weg hierdie stel fuel filters, inline fuel filters, deur Escape Boating vir ons gegee. Baie dankie Neil. And the answer we were looking for, the question was, what is Escape Boating's most successful boat range called? It is the Crackleback Bass Boat Range. So as jy gesê het, Crackleback is jou naam op die lys. Kom ons spin hom.
Philip Jansen.
Philip Jansen het nou 'n opmerking gemaak en gesê, baie interessante gesprek oor die bote, nou kort en net een. Wel Philip Jansen, jy het 'n fuel filter stelsel vir jou boot wat jy nog gaan koop by Escape Boating. So, kontak vir Neil, kry jou boot en gaan hengel die Bonanza by Loskop. Of jy het gehoor, dis ook vir oeverhengelaars. Nou Philip Jansen is een van daardie oeverhengelaars wat altyd presteer. So Philip, jy het klaar filters, gaan Loskop Bonanza toe, gaan vang die grootste karp van die oewer af, wen vir jou 'n boot en sit vir jou stel filters in en laat hom diens by Escape Boating.
I'll fit the filter for you.
Daar sê baie geluk Philip. Die laaste weggee is hierdie pragtige stel. Wat daai waar vir ons gegee het. Baie dankie aan Kingfisher vir die powerspin saam met 'n lekker paar ander goodies. Baie dankie daarvoor. En almal wat in Julie maand 4 Anglers members op 'n jaarlikse basis geword het of hernie het, is 'n hele klomp van julle en 170. 72 van julle. Baie dankie vir julle ondersteuning. Kom ons spin en ons kyk wie wen hierdie pragtige powerspin stel.
Christo Smith.
Christo Smith, baie geluk. Hier is vir jou 'n pakkie op pad. Jy het nie nodig om enige inligting vir ons te gee nie. Ons het alles op 4 Anglers. Jy is 'n lid en ons stuur vir jou hierdie met die komplimente van JKJ Express. Nou ja, dit is waarvoor ons tyd het vanaand. Ons het so 'n bietjie oor ons tyd gegaan. Jammer daarvoor. Ek is seker daarvan julle het lekker gekuier saam met ons. Baie dankie aan Orion Audiovisual wat seker maak ons het die regte toerusting in die ateljee en baie dankie aan Gijspitser Motors wat vir ons seker maak hulle hou ons op die pad en hulle is ook die hoofborg van hierdie program. So moenie nou weggaan nie. Kyk eers gou hierdie laaste insetsel van ons en kyk wat jy by Gijspitser Motors kan gaan koop. Neil, baie dankie dat jy saam met ons gekuier het.
Thank you so much, Werner.
Now, normally we give away a nice thermal flask, a 4 Anglers live one, and we've just changed it to a new funky one, and it should have been here before tonight, but it isn't. So you're going to be the first one that receive the nice new 4 Anglers live thermal flask that I would have liked to hand over to you, but now I have got an excuse to go and have a cup of coffee by your place.
That sounds like a good idea.
Bringing your flask.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Werner.
Okay, kyk wat het Gijspitser Motor vir jou. As jy 'n voertuig nodig het, gaan gerus soontoe en hier is een van hulle specials.